It's a bit weird when you go live and you're just sitting there wondering, is anyone actually out there?
It's not weird at all. It's not weird at all. But I don't know if we're quite live yet. So
Yeah.
we are. We go. We're all go. Let's jump.
See, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you don't know whether you're live, but you're actually live.
Come on, mate. I'm alive. I'm ready to go.
So my name is Drew Innes.
I'm Scott.
I'm this good-looking rooster over here, and this is Scott. And today we are going to be talking about underquoting. Gosh. Now, had a bunch of clients message us last week saying it's absolutely rife. It's everywhere. It doesn't matter what state you're in at the moment. It is everywhere across the property market. Super annoying, you know, particularly when you're on the receiving end of the underquoting. But it doesn't actually have to mean that you're going to be overpaying, does it?
No. It shouldn't have an impact on you and your buying journey. And today we're going to unpack, you know, the tricks and tips that I use to eliminate underquoting.
Yep, perfect.
Amongst a whole heap of other things.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about a number of things. So firstly, we're going to be talking about why agents underquote and how that impacts buyers.
Yep.
Second thing we're going to be talking about is, you know, what the media thinks underquoting is and the reason why people
Well, I think it's
overpay.
it's so confusing in the marketplace with the mixed messaging from the media. So we'll unpack that as well.
Yep. Well, everything about the media is confusing, mate.
Come on, mate. Dial it back.
Mate. And how to spot underquoting? Obvious, right?
Well, it should be. And it will be in 10 minutes' time when we unpack all this. It will be very obvious.
The agent starts talking under his breath. Tools and tricks to avoid underquoting, and then obviously how to analyse property fast and accurately. So let's dive on in, mate.
Sure.
So why do agents underquote?
Well, they underquote for a really simple reason, okay? And it's to drive emotional interest in a property. That's the absolute key to it. So if they pitch the property too high to the public, they're not going to garner enough interest.
Yep.
And it's very difficult to create competition. If they reduce the barrier or, you know, lower the barrier to entry for buyers, it's going to invite more people to get involved in the process. Competition creates highly emotive people, and that's where they tend to get these strong premium prices. So it's all about pitching the property at a certain price point that drives enough interest in the home to create competition.
I actually just got off the call a moment ago from a client that's dealing with this exact thing. Agent quoted $820, sold for $850, transaction fell over, and now it's back on the market for $900.
Yeah, interesting. I don't know how that works.
What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many mixed things, but in terms of underquoting, we've got so many examples of this, and you know, every week there's probably one or two stories that we have at least of some obvious underquoting that's affecting buyers that we're dealing with, or the market in general. We had one on Saturday. We lost at auction bidding on a property for a client on Saturday. The original quote 4 weeks before the auction date was in the eights. We knew that it was worth over $1 million. We did our analysis for our client. He had a budget of $980,000, so we instantly offered just below his budget to try and snap it up, because we knew that was great buying if we could buy it within that range. The agent knocked it back cold, didn't even engage with us at all, just complete, you know, no go, see you later, see you on auction day.
Yeah, why are you wasting my time?
Why are you wasting my time? And we knew that's because he had higher interest. He even told us that he had people talking $1 million when we had offered just around the 970 mark. So why he was quoting in the eights when he already had interest at $1 million or above. And then, of course, it went to auction and sold for $1,146,000. Now, in this market, you know, it shouldn't go for 30% above the price guide, and that's because the agent was just straight out underquoting. And because we knew how to analyze that property fast and accurately, we were able to explain to the purchaser, look, you're looking at a home that's going to go well beyond your budget. We'll have a crack at it anyway, and we'll see if we can snap that up, because it might be an uneducated buyer, or there might be some circumstances that dictate why they might be selling at that level, like it's an urgent sale or whatever it might be. So always worth us having a shot and unpacking that. But we trigger it straight away, and it's a red flag for us when they're quoting at those levels. And we always give our clients the heads up that it's highly unlikely it's going to come together, because they're just so far off where market value is.
Yeah, so just on that, I mean, I suppose your average buyer is out there, like, they know it's illegal. It's probably the only way to, call a spade, right?
Yeah.
Like it's against the law what they're doing, and so, what can they do, because it's all happening so fast?
Well, there's no point really. I don't believe there's much point complaining, unfortunately, to Office of Fair Trading or Consumer Affairs, depending on which state you're in. Obviously, in some areas of Australia, it's illegal to quote price. So underquoting doesn't happen like that in Queensland, for example, because they're not allowed to talk price in an auction campaign or expressions of interest. But for the rest of the country, there's not a lot of choice in terms of what you're going to do. You can't complain to the agent because you just get blacklisted. Basically,
they're not going to deal with
No, you're not going to get anywhere with the agent, and they're going to get their backup if you complain about them or complain about them to their principal or their director. So going down that avenue is not going to really suit your needs. And then complaining to Office of Fair Trading or Consumer Affairs, as I said, I've tried to do this in the past for clients. I got told that it was an 8 to 10 week process.
Yeah.
I had to fill out a 5-page form to make a formal complaint, and then they told me that it was private and confidential. And I said, okay, well, talk me through how the process works, because I just wanted to laugh out loud. And I said, so you're going to approach the agent and tell them that you had a bid from Scott Agate at this time on this date. And they're like, yeah. I said, so how's that confidential?
Right.
It's confidential. We won't tell anyone else. Yeah, but I may as well just go directly to the agent. Your toothless tiger's going to do nothing, and you're just going to make it hard to, for me to get any future opportunities. So you're just going to get blacklisted anyway. So the other thing is, 6 to 8 weeks later, who cares? The property's already sold. You just missed the one that you wanted. So unfortunately, it's a toothless tiger. In I think New South Wales alone, in the last 12 months, I think there was 60 fines of agents for underquoting, and none of those fines tapped out over $2,000. Now, put that into perspective, the average fee in New South Wales is 2%. The average sale price would be probably like 1.6 million. You're talking about a 30,000 plus average fee, and you're striking the agents with a $2,000 maximum fine. It's water off a duck's back. It's it's not impacting the agents, and therefore they're going to keep doing it until there's stricter rules that are enforcing it. But we don't have to go down that path too far today. That's just to show you that really the answer isn't complaining. The answer is getting buyer ready, skilling yourself up, and making sure it doesn't happen to you. It won't impact the prices you pay. You won't get sucked into these agent game plans, and you're not going to spend that emotional premium.
Yeah, well, that's the key, isn't it? I think that's where it was a bit of a loaded question of mine.
As always.
Like all of mine are. No, but seriously, it is. It all comes down to, upskilling and retooling yourself, so you're not out in the marketplace like average buyers, and, you've got to go into the transaction knowing that this is going on and that you've got the skills and a strategy to combat it.
Yeah, and you got to know why it goes on, and this is this is a big part of getting educated first, so that when you start out on the buying journey, you can expect these things to happen, and then you know they're coming rather than having to be reactive. You can see what's going to happen before you start out, and then you can navigate around it to your benefit. So there's a clear reason why. We've talked about they want to drive competition to the property. Okay, so that's one key reason why they do it. But the other thing is, the agents deal in this world where they have to quote, or typically, not all of them, but the vast majority, I would say, would overpromise on the sale price to the seller. So when I go to list your house as an agent and say, Drew, beautiful home, I might be in the background thinking, and this place is only worth $1 million all day of the week. But I'll go in, and the only way I think or perceive as a lazy agent or an inexperienced or a young agent to win Drew's listing is to say, Drew, I reckon I can get you 1.1. And Drew's going to go, well, I wasn't even thinking about selling, but if you think you can get me 1.1, well then,
maybe I'm a seller.
Yeah, human emotion, human greed, right? It's like, okay, well, if you think I can get 1.1, my home's worth 1.1. So they give these lofty expectations to sellers, but then they get the agency agreement, Drew signs up, prepares the house for sale, spends $5,000 on marketing, property comes to market. How the hell am I going to get buyers there if I tell them it's worth 1.1 million? I'm not, okay? And I'm not going to get them there if I quote 1 million either, which is what it's worth. There's a strategy here as an agent to build buyer interest up to get to that level. So typically, to get to $1 million, you'd be quoting 900 plus, or low to mid nines or something like that, with a view to trying to get someone to pay that 10% range that agents are legally allowed to quote. But what's happening is because the market's softening as well, they're quoting 800 plus or 850
Yeah.
plus to
Yeah.
drive the interest, and then gently they're driving that up. The same time they're driving that up, they're driving Drew down. So they're saying to Drew, this is the game. I think it's really important that you know how it works.
Push pull.
Yeah, because what they're saying to Drew is, okay, property's going to auction in 4 weeks. We've quoted this lower number. They're going to say to Drew, well, look, we're only getting feedback in the eights. Your home's not worth as much as what we thought it might have been. It's not as well received at the price point that we're expecting.
But you said.
Yeah, look, don't shoot the messenger. It's not me,
Yeah.
it's the market.
But you told me.
Yeah, I'm the best marketer in the business, so I'm confident we can get you there. Just hang on. So hang on for 4 weeks until auction day, right? Because that's when I'm going to put you under a blowtorch, and that's when I've got the best chance of getting you lower to meet the market. But in the meantime, they're saying to buyers, it's an auction. We've got a really committed seller. They're committed to selling on the day. They're not interested in pre-auction offers. It's too early. We've got too many interested parties, or we haven't had enough feedback. Whatever their BS reason is to buy time, they're trying to build their profile over that 4 weeks by controlling the stock in the market. They don't want your offers.
Yep.
Okay, and if anyone offers, they want low offers because they want to beat down your expectations. They want to get 850 offers, 870 offers. They don't want to move their price guide too far north because that's going to blow out the buyer competition.
Yeah.
And the whole time they're just giving you negative feedback to get your expectations in control. And by doing that with buyers and saying, oh yeah, we've knocked back 830, we've knocked back 850, they're just gently building up with the buyers, but they're getting lots of people on the hook thinking they're a chance at 880 or 900 or 910. And that creates the auction environment where they've got 6 or 8 people competing for the property, and then a seller that's really eager to meet the market and is super nervous because you just had nothing but 4 weeks of bad news. So this is typically how an auction will work. I'm being really negative here, and I'm playing, the devil's advocate on that side of it. It's not always like that, and there's a lot of great agents, as I always say, but the vast majority of auction training works you in this process. Quote them low, watch them go. Quote them high, watch them die.
Yeah,
That's the old saying in the industry. It's still incredibly relevant in 2022.
Yeah.
And I don't see that changing anytime soon until they, change the law, basically.
Well, or we get more astute buyers that understand how to, combat this.
Yeah. And another place you'll see underquoting happening from agents is when a property's been on the market for a prolonged period, and typically they re-sign an agency agreement with that first agent, or they fire the first agent, and you'll see the property change to a second agent, a new agent. This happens all the time, especially in this shoulder season now as we head towards a softer market. You're going to see this more and more across the country. What happens is the second agent or the re-engaged first agent has to do something different, right? They can't do the same thing and expect a different outcome. So what they're going to do is come in and say, okay, great, well, agent A quoted 900 and didn't get anywhere, so I'm going to quote 800. That's the only tool they've got is I'm going to go less.
I'm going to go low.
I'm going to go low. So, and they're going to say to the owner, look, we need people, we need engagement, we need offers, we need, competition, and I'm going to drop the price guide to do that. So very often if you see a change of agent, you're going to see underquoting at that point as well.
Yeah.
For a very deliberate strategy reason.
Yeah. That last call I had is the same situation. The client is a seller and a buyer, and the selling agents are mucking her around.
Yeah.
And she found a target property, but no confidence to buy it because she thinks the agent is underquoting.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I had a long call yesterday with a quite a high-profile agent in Sydney, and he said to me, the same games are going on non-stop in terms of the overquoting to sellers and underquoting to buyers, but he's just getting tired of buyers whinging that agents are underquoting, and then those same buyers are becoming sellers and then allowing their agent to do exactly the same thing to give them the best shot at getting the price they need. And also they're the ones that are painting over the mold to put the property on the market. So all the ones that whinge about how hard it is to buy a property are repeating that cycle as a seller. And this is what I witnessed over my 2 decades as a real estate agent, or what really got me down as well, that it's a cycle. And unfortunately, the general public just don't want to help break that cycle.
Yeah.
So it's endemic in Australia. It's very difficult to break that mold.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we're 14 minutes into this call, and if you're either watching this live or you watch the recording, I just want to sort of put in at this stage, the Hello House is not about beating on agents. We're not about that. We are all about making sure that we help our clients, the buyers, have a better buying experience and develop the skills that they need to be able to do two things: outperform their buying competition, right? Because if a client's not working with us and they're not getting buyer ready, well, we want our clients to outperform those people, right? So that's the first thing. And the second thing is we want you to be skilled so you can deal with these issues coming up against the selling agent. Or if you feel that you just can't, then at least you know that you can call on us to step in and deal with you. So I just want to sort of put it out there that this is not about, sort of beating up agents, but the reality is we've got to train you to understand what you're going to be coming up against.
Yeah, what games are going to get played.
Because they're not going away, and all that's happening is for the average buyer that's not developing their skill set, you've got hundreds, thousands of brokers that are honing their skill set.
Yep.
Right, the disparity is huge.
Yep, agents, not brokers.
Agents. I'm sorry.
All good.
Well, good pickup, mate.
I'm here to help.
Thank you. Let's go.
Yeah, well,
Next one.
I think what you should understand is, we talked about how agents, or why do agents underquote, but how do you know when an agent's underquoting? And I think that's an interesting one that comes up from buyers of ours that we talk to. How the hell do I know when it's being underquoted or not? Because these agents are really good, as you just said, in trained scripts and dialogues, and they get across their message crystal clear. Yeah. And when you're talking to 5, 10, 15 agents on the day, who's lying, who's not lying, who's telling the truth, it's really difficult for buyers to cut through that noise and understand. So there's a couple of easy things. First of all, and I've used this a lot in the sort of dialogue that we talk about in the course, is one of the questions you should be asking at an open for inspection or when you talk to the agent for the first time is, what's the quote? Or what are you expecting? And they'll tell you whatever their answer is, that it's going to be well scripted. And then straight away say, what will buy it? Yeah. And then shut up. Okay? Because very often we will say, and maybe it's because we're a third party and we get a little bit more cut through than an average buyer will when they talk to an agent. But if I ask agents that second question, what will buy it? And then I shut up, very often they'll say, well, look, we're quoting, in that last instance, we'll refer to that price, 850, but you're going to have to pay $1 million to buy it.
Yeah.
Yep. And they'll just be straight up, or they'll say, we're at 8, we've got interest at 890, 920, but the vendor is probably thinking more like $1.05 million. Yeah. If you ask the right questions and you shut up and listen, then very often you'll see an agent give you more information than they're going to give out in their standard scripts and dialogues that they just rinse and repeat to every buyer who asks the same repetitive questions. So think outside the square and ask those extra little questions, and that will go a long way. Yeah.
So we teach that in the Get Buyer Ready course, but we also go beyond that, and our buyer coaches and our clients work together so you actually understand the posturing and the demeanor, because sometimes it's not what you say, it's sort of how you say it and how you represent yourself. So if you hold yourself confidently and you ask that question and you hold that position, just as Scott says, shut up, it's a bit like that old he who speaks first.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, a great negotiator, lots of things in life, is a really good listener.
Yeah.
First and foremost. Yeah. So you have to take the time to stop, slow down, and listen to the information, and then pull it apart and use that to build your ultimate offer. And we'll talk about that in the coming weeks as well.
Yeah, it's obviously sitting in close quarters to you, I hear you ask that question day in, day out. It never gets old or lost on me. And it's just such an obvious question to ask, but no one asks it.
Yeah.
No, and I say that with all respect. Most average buyers don't have the confidence to hold the poise and ask that question to the agent and hold him accountable for the answer, right? And what's interesting is because I get to listen in to Scott doing this all day long, you can tell when an agent is bullshitting you.
Yes. Yeah.
Right then and there, right? The professional agents will dive on in and address the question head on, and then you're going to flush out where the real buying price is. So underquoting now is off the table, but those that are dancing around it, they're going to be dancing.
Yeah, and as you say, we've unpacked this heaps in the course, but the reality is that the agents that the basis of this for me is if the agents tell you a whole story to back up their what should be a single word answer or a couple word answer, then you can be sure they're trying to cover their tracks and they're lying. I think it's just human nature to be able to read people like that well and get a take on it. Yeah,
cool.
But I mean, we've got a few more extra points there that I wanted to discuss on that as well, because another really easy way that I find that I can spot underquoting without even picking up the phone or talking to anyone is if you're trawling through your target market in realestate.com or Domain and you put it in price ascending order, however you want to search, but price is really good for me to do it rather than the most modern listings. You'll see where the agents have got the property positioned in the back end. So as an agent, you log into realestate.com, you upload your property listing, and you've got to choose a price band where it sits. Yep. So it's not, they're never going to get done for underquoting really by putting it in a lower price point or a higher price point or whatever in that situation. But where they pitch it in line with other properties that are on the market is going to give you a fairly good idea of whether or not they're underquoting it or not.
Right.
Because if you see it come up, like I looked at a house yesterday, for example, in Mermaid Waters. I think it was a 4-bedroom house. It was the cheapest house by far. Yet when you looked at the houses that came up after it, you thought, well, hang on, that doesn't make any sense. That looks like it's really good buying. But it won't be. It won't be really good buying. It's there deliberately as a price leader. And it'll be there like garnering everyone else's, beginner buyers inquiry thinking, oh my God, we've got a chance at buying this one because it looks like a bargain and it's such a good deal. And finally something in my price range has come up east of the highway. And then they'll get there and they'll spend time doing a building and pest inspection and waste 5 or 6 hours of their own time, get really emotionally invested in the process.
And $500.
Yeah, and $500 wasted there. And then they'll realise that it's $200,000 outside of their budget. Yeah. So it's just really important to be able to just look at real estate, do that as a quick filter and gauge where that value sits, because I think you'll very quickly spot the underquoting. And then, I think the other one is if you go and see, I had that as well. Yeah, if you go and see open for inspections and you turn up, this was always a good gauge for me back in the day, even as an agent. And you're going to see 5 or 10 open for inspections, however many you've got penciled in for your diary, and you should be seeing that many every Saturday when you're out there looking. If you go into the same sort of houses in your target market, and there's 2 or 3 people, for example, or 5 or 10 people at the open for inspection, and then you go to another one and there's 50, or there's a queue of people lining up to get in, you can be sure that that's due to price as well. That's underquoting, because why is there such a disparity in terms of how many people are interested in particular houses? All things being even, and all things aren't even in houses. Like, of course, some streets might be more desirable or whatever it might be, or a house might be nicer presented.
But reasonably reconciling those differences.
The numbers should roughly be the same. So if you've got 10 at one and 30 at another, then it's probably because someone's baiting those buyers there and creating competition.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, and so, mate, how do we, just mindful of time, want to be respectful to everyone, how do you protect yourself from sort of getting suckered into the agent game playing?
Well, you watch the market like a hawk. So if you commit, we've said this before, I'm going to keep saying it every week, if you commit 4 to 8 weeks and you laser focus down to 1 to 2 suburbs as best you can, and you see everything you can in your price point for the type of asset that you're looking at, you're going to understand what prices are being paid and where the value sits in the market. And that's going to make it harder for you to get lured in with underquoting. You should be physically inspecting in that 4 to 8 week period, I think 50 plus properties. Again, it depends on which part of the country you're in, because it might not have the same deal flow in some urban areas versus some rural areas or regional areas. But as a rough rule of thumb, if you can see 50 properties in 4 to 8 weeks, which should be okay across 1 to 2 suburbs, then you're going to have a very good gauge of what they're selling for. Track all of those sale prices. So you actually, one little trick that I used to use is I'd go through to the open home, how you get the flyer. There'd always be a brochure with a floor plan and things from the agent. I'd ask the agent, what are you quoting? What will buy it? Blah, blah, blah. I would write on the top of it. So agent's quote is 8 to 850. And I would just put them all in a folder on my desk. And then as they'd sell at auction or as they'd sell privately, I'd go back and correlate what the quote was versus what it sold for. It does 2 things. One, it shows you the gap between the quote range and the price. So realistically, is it 10, is it 15, is it 17% that on average that it's out, that you should really be almost adding it automatically in your mind when you're giving an agent's quote. It'll also show you who's the underquoters. really
Yeah,
quickly. So, okay, I'm not going to deal with Jim Smith because,
no problem.
I will deal with Jim
I'll
Smith.
deal with him, but just
I'll know that I need to add 25%,
20, 50
yeah,
or whatever.
to his stupid listing prices
Yeah.
because they're just completely unrealistic. So if you're tracking it like that and you're recording all that data, that's really good. The other thing is call the agents that have got properties under offer in the buy side section. We talked about that last week. That's a really easy one to see what prices are selling for in real time. And of course, attend auctions, all right? So go out and see as many auctions as possible and you'll see real-time market prices and how many buyers are in the marketplace. A couple of other little easy ones, as I'll rush through these as we're getting short of time, but make sure you subscribe to the local agents newsletter. So you'll see pre and off-market listings. You'll also see all of their sales in real time each week. So anything they sell, they'll mark those down because they want to claim those sales and promote them to their database. So if you do that, you'll be watching it closely. And I would drive through the local area. So if you've got your 1 to 2 suburbs, get to know it. Go and find the best shops, restaurants, transport links, parks, the nicest residential streets, the closest areas to, the transport or away from a road for noise and where traffic flow is best, because they're the most desirable areas. If you know what's least desirable and what's highly desirable, that's just a casual drive around every Saturday or every couple of days. Just get a gauge of where you're going to buy. And I think from that, a lot of people will rule out certain sections of the suburb and say, okay, well, great, I don't want to be near that industrial estate, or I don't want to be too close to the train station, or I don't want to be anywhere near that, that after hours hotel that's there that, might be late or collecting bottles early in the morning the next morning. Rather than be reactive to listings that come on the market, be proactive and know where you want to be. If listings come on in those zones, you can rule them out straight away. It just saves you time. And you'll get a really good read on where prices sit as well and where the value might be.
And once you've got that, I suppose once they've got that sort of more finite target location, they should be going and looking at it different times of the day and, understanding what's happening late at night and maybe early in the morning. And
yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we discussed in yesterday's video talking today about underquoting and also how to analyze property. I think by talking about underquoting and how to avoid it, we've ticked off a lot of how to analyze property on the run and how to do it fast. It's free. You can do it accurately, and it's going to help you avoid being led down the garden path with regards to underquoting. And you get all your analysis done for you, like all that knowledge and market intel that's going to enable you when you do find the right property to quickly say, okay, great. Well, based on X selling for that price and Y selling for this price, and that one I saw on Saturday that hasn't sold still, and the one that's currently on the market that looks really nice with heaps of interest in it, I position this one that I like at this price. And you're going to get a really good gauge of it. So you almost don't even need to ask the agents what they're quoting. You can forget that altogether, and you'll know what things are worth before you even walk in the door.
Yeah, perfect. And so for your, like, the more we do this, the more we talk about this, and obviously I know what's gone into putting the Get Buy Ready course together. I'm just wondering how, like, your average everyday person that has never transacted before, or maybe done a couple of transactions in their life, and it's not their core skill set, like how we talk about all these different tools and everything, but if a person hasn't come from that sort of analytical type of background and they're not used to putting together spreadsheets, and if it's just not in their DNA to actually do that, how's that person going to ever sort of win at this game?
Well, they're going to become one of the statistics that we talk about each week here, in terms it's going to take them a long time to transact. They're going to miss out on multiple properties that they love before they typically overpay and probably compromise on the property. So it's a lot of wasted time. So what's your time worth? What's the risk of overpaying worth? What's the risk of compromising on the property that you sought out to buy worth? It's a very small cost to outsource it to an expert. It's an insurance policy, I think, really, in terms of ensuring that you land the property that you want at the absolute right price and the best terms, and that someone can unearth problems with the property. Someone's got an extra set of eyes and ears over the sale contract, the building and pest report, or the strata report, with a trained eye that can pick up things that others might miss on the run, or buyers that don't do this too often, or possibly even for their first time would not even think to look at or dig into. So well worth outsourcing it to the experts at Hello House. So we're here, we're ready.
Yeah, and you know, sort of, I suppose behind the question was the fact that I know that we've put all of those tools and resources and everything that everyone needs to upskill and really give this a good crack if they make the decision that they're going to go it alone. All of that is in there, but I can't, help but think, like doing spreadsheets and everything like that and doing analysis is just second nature to us because we do it all day long. But to, somebody that is, I don't know, creative and like there's all different personality types out there buying property. And so for a lot of people, that wouldn't come second nature. And I just, feel for them that they're out there trying to go it alone. It was interesting. I had this funny conversation yesterday with a potential client that, was happy to have a crack at buying a property by themselves and learning from their mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts around that?
I get it. People, want to try and build that muscle, like learn those skills because they can have those skills for life. And that's part of the reason why we built the course, right? To educate people, to enable them to learn and to be better equipped going forward. But the reality is the last thing you want to do is learn from your mistakes. You can learn from everyone else's mistakes, which is why I spent 3.5 hours recording a course around all those mistakes and how not to do them and why not to do them.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with the biggest financial asset or one of the biggest financial assets of your life. There's no getting out of a legally binding contract. Like if you purchase a property and you don't like it, you can't just go get a refund. It's going to cost you probably $50,000 plus, depending what price point to... and a lot of heartache and sweat and hours to, to sell that property or get rid of it.
Yeah.
You just don't want to be making those mistakes. And it's really easy to do the course if you want. That's a very low cost, again, insurance policy to give you those tools. For a fraction of any mistake that you'll make, employ a professional to do it for you. And I think, I don't go to get my, fix my own car. I wouldn't fix my own leg if I broke it. These are all things that you might want to do at home or tinker around with yourself. But I always outsource it to a professional. And I think it's no different when you're spending this insane amount of money, which what it costs in Australia to buy a property. Yeah,
I know. Because like when you read our website, they're obvious words, right? We talk about the fact that, gone are the days where an average person has to make life's largest purchase, like going it alone. And so the Buy Ready course is just to upskill you to understand what you're about to face so you can make an educated decision to go, I'm not going to practice on a purchase and potentially burn hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm astute enough to now realize that if I've got a toothache, I see a dentist. If I need to do my tax return, I go to an accountant. And if I need to buy a property at the lowest price and on the best terms, I go get an expert to do it for me.
Yeah, well, a good example of this in real time is last week, a good client of ours, Fiona, purchased the Get Buy Ready course with her husband. They did the course last week, which is great. So they put their hand up to say, we want to get educated before we start on that process. The funny thing is they rang me on Saturday morning and said, Scott, we've just broken every rule in your course. We don't have finance approval. We're highly emotionally invested in the property search. We started way early without doing all the things that you suggested in terms of building rapport with agents and finding listings off market. We've already found a property we love. We're head over heels for it. It's in the perfect spot and we want you to buy it for us right now. So the smart thing was they did the course. The second smart thing was they identified that they weren't emotionally in the right spot, or equipped with, the skills to get this property and to handle that process effectively. So they employed us. We bought it on the day. We helped all the due diligence stages, the contract review, everything on a Saturday, and we bought it and saved them $115,000. So
I know, it's just amazing.
So they were smart then to do the course, so they knew the problems, and then identify that they weren't ready to do it themselves, outsource it, and they saved themselves $115,000. So that property is on our Facebook page, so you can see the results of that from Saturday.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to wrap up this call now. If you've made it all the way through to the end of this call, so we're, 34 minutes in, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to, I would call it a shameless bribe, but it's actually just a gift. So one of the things that we're going to be doing is, for a limited time, we're going to be making the Find section of the Get Buyer Ready course complimentary. Now, at the moment, there are some 300 odd people in this Facebook group. So if you're made it all the way through to the end of this video, you'll be hearing this little promo of mine. So all you need to do is pop a comment down below and say you want the coupon code to be able to get complimentary access to the Find section of the Get Buyer Ready course. Why are we doing that? Because it, I'm a bit of a numbers nerd because my background's finance. And so it represents 36% of the course. What we are experts at is teaching people how to do things, and obviously analysing and negotiating, which is our core business, right? That's what we do. We move the needle for people. We save them money. And so what we feel is, if we can help you find that dream home or investment property a smarter way by giving you access to this, you'll then be more encouraged to, after you've seen the value in Find, to go and want to do the analyse and negotiate, which is going to put you in a better position to make that sort of smarter decision to work with us, so we can actually take you on as a client and go and analyse and negotiate and save you money.
Cool. Good offer. Or good bribe. Shameless plug? Bribe?
Shameless bribe? It's a plug?
Either way, take it up.
No, it's a gift. It's a giveaway.
Drew's gift to you.
So pop a comment down below if you get this far, and I will put a comment in to offer it as well to everyone in the group. And we would love to get feedback on how that's helped you buy smarter or find smarter.
Cool.
Find smarter.
See you guys.
All right, bye for now.